And welcome back to the Sooner Surge, a rainy Wednesday across the state of Oklahoma. Coincidentally, kind of a weather report for this week's game for the Sooners on the road in Lawerence, Kansas. It's going to be an ugly one, looking at the weather forecast unless things start to change up. Looking at like a high of 44, chance of rain. Guys, run game really might have to come alive to get the road win in Lawerence.
Well, you're correct. The running game, I don't care if it's 95 degrees, the running game needs to come alive at Norman as well. At least it's coming off the fourth quarter, probably the best running quarter of the year. So that's good. But one thing that is good about the offense that Levy runs is you can run a lot of quick wide receiver screens, kind of like jet sweep screens that get the ball out quick enough to kind of simulate a running game. So I expect some of that. It'll be interesting, how much rain they get. That's going to be a major thing to keep an eye on because if it's a downpour, obviously you're going to have to change some things. But I also think that could bode well for OU's defense, who has been really good against the run. Kansas does present a little bit of an attack there with Devin Neal and the running quarterback. So defense will have to be locked in as well. But yeah, it'll be interesting on the weather for sure, Jay.
Yeah, I agree with everything said there, and I do think heading into this game, I think Gavin Sawchuk fourth quarter uh, looked the best he's looked all year, and I look for him to probably. I kind of think he might start this week, just personally. Tawee Walker's back. You got Marcus May there, still a little bit banged up, I think. So I think Gavin Sawchuk might be the guy this week to get most of the carries. Um, and like you said, to me though, the weather it equalizes both sides, and so Kansas has to deal with it too. It's nobody. I do get sometimes tired of when people say, "Well, the weather's gonna make it hard to win." It's the same for both teams. So go out there. You got to be stronger mentally. You got to go out there. You got to shut down the run. If it's pouring like you said, Jeremy, shut down the run. Make them one dimensional and then go from there. Hey, OU's been great in the turnover margin all year, and if it's raining and it's pouring, turnovers will be happening. So that could bode well for the Sooners too. So
Yeah, Jason Bean, for the most part, has taken care of the football, only thrown two interceptions this year so far. I believe I saw a stat somewhere that I think Venables even brought it up last week that was the first game they've won without forcing a turnover against UCF. So, again, if it's cold conditions, it's very hard to catch the football in the cold. You add in the possibility of rain. There's a good chance for some turnovers, some fumbles, uh, interceptions thrown by either side. Kansas, though, running the football, they're one of the best teams in the country. Not necessarily to that UCF level, but they're 12th in the country right now. OU's run defense has been pretty good. I'm not sure how I guess UCF knocked them down a lot in the standings. They're down to like 33 right now, which I'm shocked by because they lead the country in tackles for losses. And they, for the most part, minus a few plays against UCF, they contained a very good rushing offense last
yeah,
week.
but if you look at last year they were one of the top in the nation in tackles for loss, and they were horrific in the run defense. So, but to me, it's almost the same type game that you just got done playing. They're very similar to UCF in what they do as far as the run game and in the quarterback. I mean, it's very similar, except Bean is a lot more athletic on the run game than Plumlee was, especially an injured Plumlee. So that's and Bean put up great numbers against OU last year, if you remember right. He kind of torched them. Let's be honest.
Yeah. Well, one thing in which they're different, they are very similar, but the pre-snap, the schematics that Kansas runs is not near as in depth as what UCF and Malzahn run. That's a good thing, I think, because OU was the first game last week where there was a little bit of confusion on the defensive side where they weren't lined up when the snap went off. Second thing is, it was by far OU's worst defensive rushing performance. Now, if you're going by yards, they did pretty much bottle up UCF for the most of the game, but there were those fused plays on the draws and some other things where they got outside and got up the middle and were gone. So that skewed that number a little bit. But I'm interested on something on offense, guys. I'd like to hear your take and maybe the viewers' take is I'm not a huge fan in a game where it could come down to the running attack. I'm not a massive fan of Gavin Freeman or Drake Stoops or maybe even Farouk going in motion and getting in the backfield. I mean, if you're asking me, Tolly Walker can catch pretty well. Marcus Major has shown that he can catch. Why not run two backs back there? Because then you also got a good lead blocker. I expect them to maybe run some of the stuff they ran against Texas in the QB run game this week. And I'm going to say it right now on Wednesday, I fully expect that Jackson Arnold might have a package this week if the weather is possibly bad.
I don't think we'll see Jackson Arnold more than maybe the short yardage on third or fourth down, like we almost saw last week against UCF. The big reason last week that we saw so much of Farouk, Stoops, Freeman in the backfield was we pretty much only had Sawchuk. Major was limited because of the injury. He was banged up through warmups. They said there was reports that he wasn't going to be the starter because of injuries he sustained over the week. And then you had no Tolly Walker as well. We haven't seen Caleb Hicks or Daywin Smothers since week 1 against Arkansas State. So that was really the big reason for that this week. I wouldn't expect it now that I would think Major is starting to heal up. Tolly Walker's obviously back from suspension. So I wouldn't expect to see any of the wide receivers, minus maybe Farouk, get any sort of action in the backfield.
Yeah, and hey, you got to start a lot faster than you did against UCF on the road. You have to. You can't go out there and get defensively shut them down first 4 times to get nothing, and then you get nothing to show for it on offense. Can't have that this week. Got to improve on that. But I'll say this. If you remember the Cincinnati game on the road, you had a pretty good contingent that traveled down there. They should have a great contingent going to Lawerence. There's seats available, Sooner fans. Get your tickets. There's some great seats available. The tickets aren't that expensive from what I've seen online. Get out there. I mean, let's make that place crimson and cream, guys.
Yeah, it's the last OU Kansas game for who knows how long. I would assume for a very long time, unless they end up meeting in a bowl game at some point down the road.
And it's not a bad place to watch, not a bad seat in the house at that stadium. I mean, it's pretty low. You're not way up high. So
it's a good venue for sure. And the other thing that looks really good for OU is the running backs have been nearly perfect on holding onto the ball. So if it comes down to something like that, they have shown, I know DeMarco Murray's preaching that ball security could be a major player this week. So, yeah. You guys, if you aren't subscribed to our channel, make sure you secure that and click the button, turn on those notifications, and like and comment. We will be having a KU ex-player guest on. Maybe we'll give you some good restaurants to eat if you are going to make that trip down to Lawerence, Kansas. Not a bad trip at all. Pretty quick trip. So, yeah, look for tickets and drop your comments here in the chat. Until next time, guys. Boomer.
Boomer.